薄いのアホ。
プリズムパワーメイクアップカードレディー。
Welcome to Shojo Tell, where we discuss shoujo manga and tell who's hot and who's not, talk about themes, and just generally geek out. Today, January 15th, 2024, we'll be shoujo and telling about the two short manga from Clamp, Miyuki-chan and Wonderland, and The One I Love. Please note that Miyuki-chan and Wonderland is a seinen. I'm your host, Ashley McDonald, and I'm joined by my journey through all of Clamp companion, and also my husband, Asher Sofman. Hello, Asher.
Hello, yes, I'm your life companion.
My life companion, my read all the Clamp works companion. You have to do everything. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's the same difference.
It's the same difference. True. Would you like to say anything more about yourself other than I've tortured you with Clamp and you are my husband?
No, although, is The One I Love a shoujo? I thought it might be a josei.
Yeah, okay, that was unclear to me actually. When I looked, okay.
Oh, there's a story here.
Well, when I looked it up on Wikipedia, it said that it was a shoujo, but I do kind of doubt that based on like what they said in the manga itself. But then again, it's an old translation from Tokyo Pop. So what do I really trust here?
It also could be that it's a shoujo, but it's a shoujo aimed at a slightly older audience than they normally, at that point, were catering to. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the magazine, but I can't actually find any information on this. Regardless, it is within a demographic that we normally would do on this podcast, so I do not feel a need to give a warning to it.
I was just, sometimes you note when it's a josei instead of a shoujo.
That's true, but because my Miyuki-chan is blatantly something that we would not normally cover on this podcast, I felt a need to warn against that. Okay, so this episode, first of all, I'm still sick, so if my mouth noises still sound gross, that's why. The sniffles won't go away. It's very rude. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna do, a little bit of a different format because we're covering two like unrelated, less than one volume worth of manga. Actually, they're both like maybe 120 pages about. I think The One I Love was 130, and I think Miyuki-chan is like 100 to 120 or something. So we're not going to have like a non-spoiler section because they're just too short, and they also don't actually have plots. They're just a series of, like semi-interconnected short stories. So I don't know. If you haven't read these, don't listen to this episode, or do, because I don't even know what there is really to spoil. I don't know. Our feelings? I don't know. Okay. So, setting the stage for where we are in the, Clamp timeline and why we did these two and not some of the other like one volume things we could have done. So I know last outro I was like, maybe we will do Shirahime Show, and then when Asher and I were looking at the Clamp manga we still had to do, and we realized there were like 4 one volume things and we didn't have one of them and it wasn't available digitally, so we were like, oh, what should we do? So we chose to we figured that Shirahime Show and the Legend of Huan Yang, or however you say that. I'm going to figure that out before we record that. For real, that actual episode. Like, we figured those probably would be more similar to each other thematically. So really, that just meant that we were like arbitrarily paired Miyuki-chan and The One I Love together. And we have corrected ourselves now. So we have The Legend of Huan Yang. So we will get there. And then otherwise, where we are in the timeline is that Miyuki-chan and The One I Love are both being worked on at the same time from 1993 to 1995, which is also when Clamp was working on Magic Knight Rayearth. Never heard of it.
What?
No, it's weird. So we're gonna start off talking about Miyuki-chan and Wonderland because I don't think we're gonna have as much to say about that. But I don't know. The time on the podcast will tell. So, Asher, what's Miyuki-chan in Wonderland about?
I feel like it's a stretch to say it's about anything.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Is it about Miyuki-chan?
It is. It follows Miyuki-chan. How about that?
Yeah.
It follows a girl named Miyuki who just keeps tripping through portals to other worlds-ish that are full of women in fan servicey outfits, and she also usually is put into a fan servicey outfit, usually after her clothes are ripped off.
I was like, when there are outfits.
When there are outfits, it's about fan service, truly, and it seems to me that and I think they mention this in Miyuki-chan in Wonderland in one of the author's notes. It's sort of just a showcase of their art and character design abilities, things they enjoy doing. They wanted an excuse to draw girls in skimpy outfits, and they had it.
And they did it. Yeah. Well, so I guess I can read, because it's not that long. I can just read the back part where they discuss the creation of Miyuki-chan. You know, they're like, I never imagined that Miyuki-chan would be as big as it is. When I first came up with the idea, I only imagined it being the first chapter. But Nanase liked the concept so much, and Mokono was having so much fun drawing the girls. We just kept going. Miyuki-chan isn't just a manga, it's also an anime and an audio CD. My reaction to that is, dear God, why? But the other versions don't feature all 7 stories. My reaction to that is good. I think the anime is an OAV, so it's not like a series or so, whatever. Okay, the series gave Mokona a chance to showcase her sexy female character designs. It was fun, but a little hentai. Just a little bit hentai. Also hentai. What decade am I in?
Right.
What decade am I in?
Well, 1993.
1993. I kind of miss it. That's okay. Imagine how things would be different if the main character was a guy. No, definitely better with all girls. Guys are totally gross. Very funny coming from Clamp. That's my interjection. By the way, why is it that Miyuki-chan is always in a schoolgirl uniform? Because she's a girl, silly. It's only natural. All the more reason the series had to star a girl. We wouldn't want a guy in a schoolgirl uniform. Circular logic is a side character note there. In Miyuki-chan in TV Land, she starts in her pajamas, but we get her into school clothes pretty quickly. Why did we do that again? In Action Series, there's so many more chances for fan service with a schoolgirl uniform. Yeah, you get to see her belly button and plenty of panty flashes. They're so frilly and pretty. What they mean to say is that the constant battle against the schoolgirl uniform in Miyuki-chan is symbolic of women's struggle against sexual oppression. It's not like we're just obsessed with skirts. Then there's a panel of the other 3, you know, like in a flash, like we've been caught kind of pose. And then they discuss among themselves, aren't we? Well, I know I am. There's nothing wrong with that. To which, I'm sorry I don't remember who is represented by who, but
I believe it's Satsuki Igarashi saying, this is a feminist whatever,
okay.
While Mokona, Nanase, and Miki... Wow, yeah. I just totally
that's not their name.
All the first names and the last names, whatever, are like, nah.
We just hentai little peeps here, yeah. Okay, so wait, who's the one who's saying it's sexual oppression? It's a commentary?
I believe it's Satsuki Igarashi. Please note that I am not even looking at the book.
Yeah, he's not even looking at the book. Because, gosh, we definitely don't need 2 copies of this. Okay, so Igarashi then says, I don't know these people. Well, the dangerous adventures of Miyuki-chan and her schoolgirl uniform have come to an end.
Thank
Great.
God.
Thank gosh. Yes, thank the heavens. Yeah, okay, so admittedly some of the character designs were cool and or pretty, but I was like, I didn't need this at all. No.
See, I was like so eager to get out of it that I didn't even register which designs were cool or pretty. Like I have
You
no
were just like, I
memory.
don't want to see these boobs no more.
I don't. Like, you know, I like a good pair of boobs, but it's enough is enough, and you know, I don't go too clamp for this, right?
Yeah.
I like a story, I like some characters, and this is not that, you know? Yeah, the only costume I remember is the White Rabbits, and just because, like, I had to look at it multiple times.
You were like, wait, I have to stare at this.
No, they put it in the back.
Oh yeah. You get a lot of color pages in here too. Like explanations of of the world and of of their costumes. Like you could tell there was a lot of love put into this, in my opinion, very unnecessarily.
A lot of love? I'm not sure love is the word I would use. There was a
Not-
lot of interest put into this.
Of interest put into this, yeah. So the front illustrations, they're all in color and it's all tits and ass. It's
Yeah.
all constant in my face.
Yeah, like,
We get more titty armor.
yeah. You mentioned that this was in their Magic Knight Rayearth
Yes.
era, and it reminds me of how do you pronounce her name? Caldera? Constantly. You remember you probably don't remember.
I was like, blank stare.
She was one of the antagonists turned good guys. She ends up with Lafarga, however that ends up being translated. It's okay if you don't remember her. It's just she was constantly, it's all leg and butt. So if you remember her, listeners,
And you just want more of that.
You've seen everyone in Miyuki-chan.
That's cool. Yeah, it's just like even putting on my most generous, like, this is a gag manga. They clearly had a lot of fun just making nonsense, right? Like, I'm not supposed to take it seriously. I'm just like, but I didn't like it. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
It wasn't made for us.
I suppose. Apparently, it is considered Yuri, at least according to the Wikipedia. And yeah.
I can see why it would be, but it's very non-consensual rapey Yuri with no story. So
I would not want it to be Yuri for the sake of the like.
It's not Yuri I would read, and I do not like its implications of, like, you know, LGBTQ people are sexual predators, you know?
Are we being double standard to Clamp though? Because normally they make stuff that like borders on being BL and is also kind of rapey.
I think usually we call that out too.
Okay. Well, as long as we're not being double standard.
I'm pretty sure we've been like, this relationship is icky.
Yeah.
Most times that it comes up, and if we don't say it, it's probably because we don't even like thinking about them as a couple, right?
We don't even want to think about that. The sexiness of that. Yeah.
I mean, if we are, you know, judging with a double standard, please call us out, because we don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think I just generally don't like, I mean, the one couple that I remember actually liking is Shaoran and Soccer, right? Like,
Right.
you know? So, sure. And this is completely unrelated, but seriously, the only thing I could think about the entire time I was reading this short little manga was the Swedish House Mafia song with Tiny Tempa, Miami to Ibiza, because there's a silly line about being surrounded by some bunnies and it ain't Easter. And like, waking up with a girl who likes a girl.
Okay.
And I was just like, yep, that song's a jam. It's a horny and like product placement Latin jam. Like,
And you know what? So is Miyuki-chan in
And
Wonderland.
so is
So
Miyuki-chan
please
in
enjoy
Wonderland.
if that's your thing.
like, just go grab this manga, put on this song, and be in a mood. I don't know. Like, that's all I could say about that. And yeah, so logically, Miyuki-chan in Wonderland ended. Do we even say that it's explicit? Like, you know, the first chapter is like, it's a riff on Alice in Wonderland. Okay, let's get that obvious bit out the way, right?
Yeah.
But the only logical conclusion was that it ended with Miyuki-chan in Excellent.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, like, to be fair to Miyuki-chan in Wonderland, it was published in what, New Type magazine, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? So like it's not meant to be like a manga you go to and read when you want to read a manga. Like it's, you know, weird filler stuff in a magazine about other stuff. If you want to look at ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Miyuki-chan and our feelings about it. They are mostly, we don't need that.
Yeah.
But glad Clamp had fun, I guess. Okay, so we're going to move on to the one I love, which I think we'll have more to say. Whether it's more positive is a questionable statement. Okay, let's find out. So, Asher, what's the one I love about / explain the structure of it?
It really is about the structure with this one. So there's 8 manga chapters, short stories, with a short essay explanation, author's note for each, sort of saying where the story came from. Usually it's a story they heard from coworker, or I guess not coworkers. A story they heard from
manga
friends.
artists or just friends.
Yeah, or from their pasts. And each story is about love.
What?
Yeah, wild. They're short stories. None of them go very deep. None of them are very deep. They're all really like sort of depressingly heteronormative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like that's not what I expect from Clamp.
Yeah.
And they're really kind of boring. Gotta say.
Yeah, we'll get more into that. So I'll read the first essay, but like I'm not going to read every essay because that's way too much and probably like technically illegal from like a copyright perspective.
Yeah, probably.
So, but I'll read the first one. So it says, "Hello, this is Clamp. For those of you wondering who we are, let me explain. Clamp is a collective of 4 people: Satsuki, Igarashi, Nanase, Okawa." We can get them right here so that Asher, Nick Nikoi, although I think she now goes by a different. Oh yeah, she's Sabaki Nikoi now.
Oh,
And
really? Huh.
according to Wikipedia.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, this translation would have come out, 20 years ago. So
Right. She's the one I referred to as Miki.
Ah, yeah. No, I knew who you meant. And Mokona Apapa. We have created and produced several manga. This project, the one I love, is a collection of essays centered around girls' love and the insecurity, happiness, regret, and satisfaction that accompanies that love. Each chapter includes 7 pages of manga illustrated by Nikoi and a short essay section written by me, Nanase Okawa. We hope you enjoy this journey through love. Have you ever wanted to become someone different? Well, should I read the essay explaining the first one? Sure, why not? To give you a flavor of how this goes.
Okay.
So this first story, I guess we can set up the first story. It was like the essays sometimes go on tangents that I'm like, how are you going to bring that back? Even though they're like 2 pages long, right? So this first story was about a girl who like had a little fight with her boyfriend, I guess. But it's titled, it's different. So she's like decides to dress up in a kimono and like, which she doesn't normally do, obviously, right? Because she wants to be different, but really she's regretting that she couldn't just say I'm sorry to her partner so that they could go talk, normally again. And when she bumps into him, he is also dressed differently than how he normally is. She's like, you normally wear the same jeans. And he's dressed in like a suit, you know? And then they both say, I'm sorry. Great. Cool. That's the setup. Okay. So have you ever wanted to become someone different? I know I have. Mostly, I feel like turning into someone else when I'm either disgusted with myself or thoroughly depressed. Sometimes I find myself thinking, how could I have been so stupid? If there were a ditch, I'd jump into it. Or what was I thinking when I said that? So this story is based on an experience I had. It wasn't a romantic experience. Too bad, right? But rather an incident between a friend and myself. She and I go way back and have been friends for about 15 years. But 3 years ago, I had an argument with her, and it was over something insignificant. Usually we laugh off stuff like that, but at the time, we couldn't. We must have been tired after endless all-nighters. I bet you're wondering why the all-nighters. Too bad. Keep on wondering. I don't have to wonder. It's because you make too much manga. Gosh. Anyway, most of the time, my friend and I are courteous of each other's feelings. But for some reason, when we parted that day, neither of us felt good about our exchange. After agonizing over our fight for a week, I decided I wanted to apologize to her. So I called and asked her to meet me. Of course, there was no guarantee that things wouldn't go terribly wrong again. I ended up wearing a kimono to our rendezvous. I figured that if I changed who I was, maybe it would change the outcome. I guess the more you love someone, the harder it is to say you're sorry. So whenever you have a hard time apologizing, remember this story. If you can become someone different than the person who had the fight, you might be able to deal with the situation a bit more honestly. By the way, the day I wore that kimono, my friend wore her choir uniform. Great minds think alike. And thankfully, she is still one of my best friends. Okay, I have to say that I hate the font that they chose for these essays. It's both like some really 90s like Microsoft Word. We thought that was a good font, like vaguely trying to evoke that it's, Asian, I think. But it's actually really just difficult to read and tell what is italicized and what is not. And maybe that's just because my eyesight is bad, but that's my opinion. Anyway, so Asher, you mentioned that it was weird because all the stories are about like incredibly hetero and boring. But it was also like because it's hetero, like all of them are hetero. You said it was gender essentialist, and I don't know that's exactly the words I would use, but like.
So I feel like a lot of it was gender essentialist. Like
Okay.
The problem isn't that it's, following particular norms or that it's hetero, right? Like there are fascinating hetero stories out there.
I love so many. A Sign of Affection. Name them.
The problem is that these are really boring stories.
Yeah, that is the main issue.
That is the main issue. And part of what makes them boring are the assumptions that I think particularly Okawa makes when she's commenting on the stories, like every girl wants to blah, blah, blah. Every woman wants blah, blah, blah. I find that very gender essentialist. I actually feel like the manga characters themselves aren't, and the stories themselves aren't as gender essentialist as that. And I do like seeing the different women, the different designs and the thought they put into what they wear, even if they're just wearing like normal clothes, which, I mean, how often do you see that in Clamp?
That's true.
But like, you actually told me offline that you found the essays more interesting than the manga, but I found the essays more like off-putting than the manga.
I think they are still, like they're more interesting, but I didn't say in a positive way.
I see.
Whenever I say the word like if I hear somebody else say the word interesting, right, I always actually usually follow up with good interesting or bad interesting, right?
I see. So it was bad interesting.
So I think it's like mostly bad interesting. Yeah, because I'm just like, wait, Nanase is the one who comes up with most of the stories, and like it just didn't feel like it actually jives with how at least we've all come to like interpret their stories, right? Like,
yes, it feels really different. And I think part of it is that it seems like they were being published in a different magazine than they normally were at that point. I think that's part of it. And I was wondering if this was sort of an exercise, right? This was illustrated by Nikoi, who at that point, as far as I know, was usually more in an assistant role when it came to illustration. Makona was the main artist, at least for Magic Knight Rayearth, and
As exhibited by Miyuki-chan, yes.
right. She was the main artist for Miyuki-chan.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this was like, all right, we're being asked to publish in this other magazine. Okay, interesting. What do we do for that? We're, trying something new with an artist stepping into a different role. So it feels a little bit with the rigid structure that they all follow and trying to fit into this different audience. It feels very like homeworky to me.
Mm-hmm.
There was an assignment.
There was an assignment. It was an experiment. They were like testing something out. Yeah. I would even say that, like, yeah, it almost feels like, I mean, we never are going to know all the inner workings of Clamp. Like, we somewhat purposely don't know that, right? Like, but it almost feels kind of wrong to say that this is a Clamp series when only like half of them actually worked on it,
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like the usual main artist. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it generally. And then, yeah, talking about the gender, it's like, for me, the issue was like, I guess this can still be considered essentialist, but like the one that really got me going was that in one of the essays, Nase is talking, it's the harmonica story.
That one made me think of you.
Yeah.
I was hoping we would talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, the story itself is about like a young girl. They're in like kindergarten. And, she's like, oh no, I forgot my instrument for orchestra, and is fraught about it and like distressed. And, another young kindergarten boy is like, here, you can borrow my harmonica. And then she's like, he's actually really good at the harmonica. He loves the harmonica. He got to do a solo, like blah, blah, blah. So she gets in the harmonica for him. And like, even as they get older, like it shows that they're still like into each other and together and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, oh, the point is to get into the other person's hobbies so that you can get closer to them. And so there's a point in the essay where Nanase is like, I have heard that I've heard it said that when women get into the hobbies of men that they like, they are like forfeiting independence and all this stuff. And then she's like, but I don't think that that's true. I think it's good to get into things of somebody you like. It's an experience. Then you can do things together and get closer together. And I'm like, yes, that's fine. But like, do men do the same thing? Because in my experience, no.
Yeah, this is actually one of the places where the essay really disappointed me compared to the little manga chapter. Because in the manga chapter, in the actual story, the guy gets her a doll, a Sonic the Hedgehog doll.
Right.
Because she's into Sonic the Hedgehog. And you see that this supporting each other's interests, even when you don't necessarily understand or you're not necessarily good at it, is a point of connection, is a point of like, I like you and I want you to be happy, and yeah, I saw this and I thought of you, right?
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. But then Nanase's essay only talked about girls getting into the things that guys like in order to get close to them. And I was like, no.
I hardcore reject this.
Yeah, it's like, right now in our relationship, you're watching Delicious in Dungeon with me, partially because we have a thing where we're watching all of the Trigger anime, and that's a goal of yours.
Yes.
But partially because I like it, even though it's very obviously not your thing.
No, it's not. Sorry to disappoint the whole anime community right now.
And here I am, podcasting with you. And like, I like shoujo manga, but I'm not that into podcasting.
No.
So like, yeah, I feel like a lot of the essays fell short of like what I think a healthy relationship goal is, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the manga, I don't know, maybe I feel like most of the manga stories were just sort of like blah, but some of them approached like a reasonable goal and some of them fell short. This one I felt was one of the better ones.
Wow.
I liked this one and the marriage one.
Wait, weren't there 2 marriage ones?
Yes, there were. There was one actually called Marriage, and that's not the
Oh,
one
yeah.
I'm thinking of. I'm
Okay,
thinking of
not
the
the
cooking
last one then. Okay.
I'm thinking of, it was titled Normal.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the marriage one was about.
Well, do you want to explain normal before I explain marriage?
Sure. Normal was, there was a woman and her boyfriend had asked like, hey, should we get married? And she didn't have an answer for him at the time because she was like, I love you, but I don't know what is the point at which love becomes marriage, right? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay. And she had friends who said that they got married because they just wanted a normal life with that person. And she was like, what? What? I don't get it. But then, she had originally connected with her boyfriend over how much he liked her cooking. Like they met at some kind of event where she brought a bento. And that particular day when she was thinking about it, she served him whatever she had been making. And he said, I could eat your cooking every day or something. I genuinely don't remember. All the men were super forgettable. Like more so than the rest of the manga.
So yeah, she made curry. She has a bunch of, so actually what he said was just seconds, please.
Oh,
and she says, what an appetite. When you eat so heartily, it makes me want to cook for you always. And that's when she's like, I could get married.
Yes. The idea is that, I want to have my normal life with this person forever. And that's what marriage is. And I was like, I like that. That one was reasonable and like, a change from the typical, particularly in that time, I think, love's got to sweep you off your feet and you kiss at the end and there's nothing after that. It's happily ever after that. The romance is the height of it. And it's like, okay, no, this one's highlighting a different aspect of love and of relationships that I feel very strongly about, actually. So
yeah,
like still a boring story.
Yeah. I think I was confused initially reading the essay because it's like, and Nanase is like, each woman I talked to said they got married because they thought they'd have a normal life with their husbands. And then Nanase is like, I was so confused by that, basically, like I thought marriage was like this big deal and, like hyped up thing. And I was like, I was confused by her confusion because I was like, yeah, that's the normal thing to do is you get married and you have babies and the cycle goes on ad nauseum, right? Like isn't it normal, like, so I did in the end, like, where it went. But I do think that like overall the construction of it was perhaps a bit weird for me.
I think it's a generational thing, I think. And perhaps like a cultural one a little bit. I think it's more generational than anything because like when you grow up and the message is very gender essentialist, every girl wants to grow up to be married and like that is the height, it becomes that big deal rather than, oh yeah, marriage is the default normal thing and you could do something else with your life before that, before you settle down and get married and be boring.
I am now settled down and boring.
I'm just saying.
I fought getting married for so long because, whatever. I don't know. Me and Nanase's complicated feelings about marriage are just coming out together and they don't align, I guess.
Yeah, Nanase didn't bring up, like, benefits.
Yeah.
That's why we got married. Jake.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I think marriage was the story where, you know, she goes on about like, I told my friend that she should think of doing things only married couples can do now, and I was like, what's that? Get tax breaks? Like, I don't know what that means.
Oh my god.
In America, you get health insurance through each. Like, I don't. Like, what does this mean?
I'm pretty sure it means sex, baby.
I'm pretty sure it also meant sex, but I wanted to be funny.
Perhaps sex with the idea of creating babies, right?
But you can. Okay.
You can do that outside of marriage, and I think, you know, it's a little easier to wrap your mind around it in this particular time if you're not doing that to make babies. But if you're gonna make babies, the idea is you should be married in 1993, perhaps.
I mean, even now.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that different now, but we're just like, I guess there are other ways of doing things that we've slowly come to be like, I guess you could do those, but don't you want to do this one still? You know, like that's more where we're at.
Yeah. Although I will point out, because this only just occurred to me, 1993, 1995, that was 30 years ago.
I'm dead now, so that's good.
When you said, like, I miss 1993, I was like, you were 3 years old.
I miss being 3 years old.
Well, how do you remember anything when you were 3 years old?
Listen, all I know is in the 90s, I felt safe and I didn't worry about climate change every day. And there was a big blizzard in 1996 that I really loved and enjoyed. So much
We
snow.
didn't even get there in the timeline.
Shh, whatever.
We're not even there. We're not even there.
So I guess infuriatingly, I felt like the story Insecure was the one that encompassed like the thesis statement of this whole thing and like what makes it so infuriating. So it's like, that's the one where a girl like has a dream that her boyfriend is gonna wind up ending her relationship over XYZ, and she like goes to his apartment and he had given her a key, but it doesn't work, and she's like, oh my god, he's like changed the locks on me, he hates me now, you know, like the spiral that's just feels so stereotypically female representation, you know. And I was just like, I hate this. But it feels like a lot of the stories are about women's insecurities and how they really eat away at us, while it seems like the men go around being bubbleheads and like don't notice anything, and they're just like, you're cute, smile.
Yeah. I think there was one story where the guy had a personality, but I can't even remember which story it was. He like it was like one of the early ones.
Okay.
Like, was it Insecure?
Was it Insecure?
No, or was it the one before Insecure? It doesn't even matter because he didn't have enough of a personality for me to remember which story he was in.
Oh, I think it was the one about the dating the younger guy. He had a personality.
Oh. Yeah. That one had the possibility of being interesting, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It had the potential.
Right. That sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about them. They're interchangeable.
No. Yeah. And anyway, two more things. Would people call a man... I had the biggest question that comes from this manga is, would people call a manhole cute? But not beautiful, but would they call it cute?
No, I see where that girl's coming from. You could make a case for manholes being cute.
Oh my gosh. I thought that story was funny because, you know, back in our Prodigious days with Guillemon and at least the dub, right? We had that whole debate over cute versus cool and everything. So like, I feel like cute always comes up, and I do actually have a personal vendetta against people who ask rote questions, right? Or do like the normal pleasantries of small talk, right? So like,
Right.
how are you today? Hate that question. Don't ask me that. I'm just going to say fine. Like, if you don't like that answer, don't ask the question, right? So like, I saw where this one was coming from. I was just like, I just don't know that I would use it about the word cute, but I see where you were coming from. So I'll respect this, you know?
You said you had 2 questions.
Well, no, the other one was going to be a statement, which
Oh.
was just that we couldn't escape without a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference.
Yeah.
Except it was translated as JoJo's Strange Adventure.
Yeah.
Which is just
so
weird.
Like, I guess it was obviously before the craze came to America.
It was perhaps even before then, like Viz translated it.
Oh, probably
like,
was.
They didn't have an official name then. Yeah.
Oh.
Because like even if it's, you know, translated by a different company, they almost assuredly would have used the like official English name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the manga companies back then, it was the Wild West. What do I know?
Yeah. No, before it came here.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been here in some respect, but
everything was different back before Crunchyroll and the mid 2000s manga boom, you know?
mm-hmm.
It was a different time.
Twas.
All right, so I think that's basically both manga. So we have to wrap up with our final segment of Clamp Things, which is now ranking all of the Clamp things that we've done.
Oh boy.
So first I'm going to read them in order of how we covered them on this podcast for neutrality purposes. It went Cardcaptor Sakura, which is the one episode that Asher wasn't on. I did it with a different friend, but we all know Cardcaptor Sakura. So Cardcaptor Sakura, Magic Knight Rayearth, Tokyo Babylon, Wish, Angelic Layer, Rig Veda, Chobits, Man of Many Faces, Duke Leon, Clamp School Detectives, Legal Drug, Miyuki-chan in Wonderland, and The One I Love. And so I will go first because I have mine written down, and Asher will continue to sound like a fool and probably give different rankings in each episode. I can't wait to write this down someday and just laugh hysterically. So I would say so far the only manga that I truly, truly, deeply love from Clamp is Tokyo Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I'm like, that was fun and enjoyable, but I don't feel like I necessarily have to reread it, and I was not floored by, are Magic Knight Rayearth, Cardcaptor Sakura, Man of Many Faces, Clamp School Detectives, and Duke Leon. So things that I just don't actually like too much, roughly in order of how much I do not like them. So bottom is I hate it a lot. So at the top is actually like, I don't know, The One I Love. Like, it was boring, but it didn't rankle me like the other ones on this list as much, right? Like, it didn't make me rage. So fine. Legal Drug, Angelic Layer, Rig Veda, Chobits, Wish, and our new bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Yes, Miyuki-chan in Wonderland.
God. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. So, you know, we just recorded last week, and I'm sure my middle tiers are going to shift around.
I know, it's going to be funny. It's going to be hilarious.
I never remember what I say.
You never remember. It's so funny.
But my top and bottom are generally pretty stable, but we do have a new bottom of the barrel. So my top is, and probably will remain, Magic Knight Rayearth. Just so formative for me. And Cardcaptor Sakura, Tokyo Babylon. Man of Many Faces.
You are always more favorable towards Chobits and like
I
angelic
know.
layer than
I'm looking at Chobits and angelic layer right now, and I'll do angelic layer then Chobits. Duke Leon can go in here somewhere. Rig Veda. Okay, what have I got left? I've got Wish and
legal drug.
Clamp School Detectives. Okay.
The two that we just discussed on this podcast.
Yeah. Did I say Rig Veda already?
I believe you did.
I did? Okay.
I don't know. Well, if you didn't, you said it now.
Yeah. This is a round where I would put Rig Veda if I haven't said it already. I probably, if I did say it, I said it right before Clamp School Detectives, so fine. Did I say Duke Leon yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just have the bottom of the barrel now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Legal drug. Wish, the one I love, Miyuki-chan in Wonderland.
Ooh, escaping. Okay.
Listen. I may not have liked Legal Drug or Wish, but at least I had a reaction to it. The one I love, I'm like, shrug, forgettable. It like will fade from my mind instantly. A lot of it already has.
I feel like Legal Drug is immediately falling out of my brain. It's just like cool.
Yeah, but like we discussed last time, like I like a good supernatural mystery, and Legal Drug left me with questions.
So many questions. Yes,
I had an interest, and at least Wish had a story to me.
I mean, that's definitely why I put it above Miyuki-chan in Wonderland.
Yeah, Miyuki-chan in Wonderland was just not for me, and that's okay.
That's okay. So I believe if I've done my math right, by purely looking at like series and not volume count, because I'm sure by volume count this is actually not true. I believe that we have now done officially half of Clamp's title count.
Da-na-na-na.
That's only if I've done my math right, but if not, then we're very, very close. Okay. So the things that we have left to do before the gamut of Holic and Suasa are the aforementioned Shirahime show and Legend of Huanyan, which we will do in like a combined episode like this. But presumably we'll have more to say. I don't know. Suki, which is 3 volumes, and we also did acquire recently. And then the 2 that we have not yet acquired because they are both technically halted and they are both elephants in the room, I suppose. One of them is bigger than the other. One of them is a baby elephant and one of them is a giant elephant. It's Clover and X.
One of them's Dumbo and one of them's Jumbo.
Yeah. And so my anticipation of how this is going to go is we're either going to do Shirahime show and Legend of Huanyan next, or we'll do Suki. Then we'll do Clover. Then we'll be like, I guess we have to give in and do X. And then I don't even know how we're going to do Holic and Tsubasa since they're so like referencing of each other and obviously everything else, right? But like they have interlapping plot points. So I don't know if we'll just purely do one and then the other or what. But that's okay.
When I was originally reading it, I was reading them at the same time. I think we could try to do it sort of a timeline way.
You might have to map out the timeline ahead of time to like line them up.
I bet you anything someone's already done that work for us.
Probably somebody's already done that work for us, but we'd have to go find it in the dungeons of the internet. All right. So we have a bit of time to think about that because X is 1,000,000 volumes. And there are at least 3 other episodes before X that we have to do. So Cool beans. Well, I think since we've done 2 clamp recently, we will probably get off our clamp kick for a bit. But thanks for listening to Shojo Tell. Comments, questions, constructive criticism, concerns. Need to tell us how we're so wrong about these.
How we're so wrong about Miyuki-chan and Wonderland.
We're so wrong about Miyuki-chan and Wonderland. Email shojoandtell@gmail.com or leave a comment on the episode's YouTube page. We're at Shojo and Tell on Blue Sky, Tumblr, and Instagram. You cannot find Asher on the internet.
Not currently, no.
Whoa. What a tease. All right. Are you excited every time you see a new episode from us? If so, please consider leaving a rating on Apple Podcasts. This will help the podcast reach more hearts, or at least ears. Also, I realized that we never brought up Clampcast in this episode, which is a crime against Clamp and ourselves.
And Clampcast.
And Clampcast. So you should all go listen to Clampcast, who have way smarter thoughts about the Clamp things than we do. We are Clamp like high school Clamp. And they're like college level Clamp course. You heard me. Okay. I'm the lord of this podcast. This is what I say. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next time for maybe for real Evangelion Angelic Days, which is a special episode I'm planning with my high school friend. That will happen if I have to go deliver him a copy of the manga. So if I stop being lazy and do that, like, great, we'll do that. Okay. Otherwise, maybe the first 10 volumes of Snow White with the Red Hair, because Yes, because I've been torturing Asher for many moons now, and maybe I should do his favorite series so that he's excited to talk about them and not like I'm pulling teeth. Okay. Another possibility is like, I don't know, Mars or Vampire Night, some really big shoujo that I haven't done because I just like avoid hard things for a while until I've ramped myself up. I don't know. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of stuff to do, okay? And this cold won't leave me alone. Okay, well, until then, bye.
Bye.